These 5 mistakes can seriously slow down your plant growth. Good afternoon, good evening, good night everybody. Hope you're doing awesome. Hope you're having a great start of your week. Happy Monday to you all. It is Monday 13th of April 2026 and it is day 57 of the Chilli Grow Up. Now what we're going to do today, we're going to have something a little bit different, change it up a little bit. We're going to be having a look at, as we're at this stage, this is an important stage. They're indoors at the moment and they're about to start going outdoors, hopefully, with this weather being decent. We're still waiting on that. But there are some mistakes you can make along the way that can completely ruin the plants, set them back and actually even finish them off. Now, I feel like I've made potentially some of these mistakes. I hope that they've been easily rectified and easy to fix. And I wanted to do this video so that everyone watching this can make sure they don't make these same mistakes that I've potentially made or will potentially make for their chilies. I don't want anybody making mistakes. I want their chilies to flourish and do really, really well. So let's have a little look. Here is my top 5 mistakes, the biggest mistakes that you are going to potentially make on your chili plants. Let's hope you don't do them, because I have. Let's see what happens. Let's have a little look. Let's start day 57. Alright, so first up is overwatering versus underwatering. What I like to do is water these plants about once every week. I usually do it on a Saturday and it's water and fertilizer. Obviously that will increase as time goes on, the plants get bigger. But you want to make sure, the rule of thumb is that the soil is relatively moist but not waterlogged and soaked. There you go, pat down on the top, and if the soil stays on your finger, it's all right. Example here, if you pat down on the soil, see, little bit, if it comes off and completely clean, you need to give them a bit of water. Now the 2 ways of watering, there are multiple videos of me doing bottom watering, and that's where we water them from the bottom and let the roots soak it up all the way. Look at that, soak it up all the way from the bottom up to the top, so the top doesn't get soggy and it has just enough water. It also makes the roots go downwards, searching for that water and nutrients. Now, the last time I watered, we did a bit of top watering, just because the roots have made their way to the bottom, established themselves, and are poking out the bottom there. But until that happens, always bottom water, let it soak up from the bottom to the top and make the roots work. Make the roots go down for it. And if all goes to plan, through bottom watering, you can end up with a plant like this Scotch bonnet MOA, with a solid stem, loads of new shoots and super dark green leaves. So just remember, don't starve them of water. They do like a drink, but don't drown them either. Don't give them root rot. Just give them just enough water to make it through the day. So next up is feeding. Now, I like to use a liquid organic seaweed fertilizer. I like to keep it organic, and I strongly recommend you guys do as well. Now, to start with, when the plants are nice and young like this, young seedlings and very young sprouted plants, what my recommendation is less is more. So go quarter the strength to start with. Even right now, with these plants being in this stage, I'm doing half diluted. So at the moment it's half a cap of the fertilizer for every litre. I've been doing a half cap for 2 litres because we've got a lot of plants and there's still quite a bit left over. So I'd rather give them just enough but not too strong, because you're going to get the burn. And that's where I think potentially the seed leaves here and here have burnt away. Could be for other reasons, but we want to make sure the fertilizer is present but not too strong that it burns the plants up. So just keep them fed once a week, but keep it relatively diluted until they get a little bit bigger, until they're in their final pots, and then go exactly as the instructions say. But also at that stage, you change from a high nitrogen, you want to drop the nitrogen and you want to go into high phosphorus and high potassium so that they can flower and start producing peppers. Next up, we've got the case of having weak stems or not enough support. So I've got 2 Scotch bonnet MOAs here, both planted at the same time, both had around about the same amount of light. Now, these leggy plants, it is usually a light issue. They're usually stretching for the light. It's not been positioned enough, which again, that's my mistake. So the way around that, as you can see, I put the support canes in. Sometimes they have a little bit of a twist tie just to keep them together. But as you can see, without this support cane, I mean, it's doing relatively okay, but gust of wind, that could completely bend and completely snap the plant. So that's not good. So what we need to do is make sure these support canes are in a good place so that the plant, oops, see, we need to make sure it's all okay and the plants are all right. Just propped up against so it can stay nice and straight, adjust itself to the light, and it'll be all right. For example, this plant has had enough light and hasn't needed a stretch. Even though those seed leaves are pretty toasted, as you can see the difference, it's just so much more stronger. So just make sure your grow lights are positioned correctly, and we're not going to get leggy plants, and then in the future you're not going to need to keep putting support canes in, because as you can see on their own, they're pretty much doomed. So support cane if you need to, but the way around that is having appropriate light positioned properly so you don't get plants toppling over like this. Is transplanting your plants too soon, too quickly. This is something I'm very guilty of. A lot of people in the comments have said you've done this too soon, you're going to do them more harm than good. And as you can see, it's just set some of the plants back. For example, here are some Scotch bonnet MOAs. This was transplanted, I'd say, just shy of a month ago. Now he's absolutely fine, but the growth and bushiness, the new leaves have kind of slowed down. But it was in quite a shock being pulled out of its cup, having its roots ripped and thrown in. Now, for example, here's the same Scotch bonnet that hasn't been transferred yet, that stayed in the cup and was given time to grow and flourish. And as you can see, absolutely perfect. It's crazy to think that these are the same, planted the same time, just transplanted about a month too soon, and I bet the root system's probably only about to here. Yet if you see in the cup, this is ready to transplant for pretty much very soon. So just give them the time they need, and unless this cup is completely like overflowing on the bottom and it's just got no more space for the roots, then you need to look at transplanting up into a bigger pot. But until then, don't do it too soon, because you can end up with very small plants. Now, for example, here's an Armageddon, transplanted way too soon, and it's pretty much in the same stage as the Scotch bonnet MOA. Then there was another Armageddon that I waited for quite a bit until the roots hit the bottom of the cup, and now such a difference between the two, as you can see. Doesn't seem as set back. There's new shoots coming through. So this was the difference between waiting 2 weeks and not waiting 2 weeks. So just be patient with them. Don't go all guns blazing. Don't go too crazy too quickly, because you're going to end up setting the plants back, just like what I've done here. These should be just like these, but because I did it too quickly, they stayed small. They'll be all right, but it's just we delayed them and set them back a little bit, when if we'd have just waited a couple of weeks, we'd have been looking at about this by now. It's a mistake I won't make again. And finally, moving them outdoors too quickly. The sun is the source of all the power needed for us, for life itself, and it's a bit strong. So when the sun's a bit too intense, you're going to get the leaves curling up. you're going to get what's known as sun scalding. Do you see that there? Little blips on the side, leaves curling up, it'll go a bit yellow. Yellow on the tips. It can cause real issues. As you can see on that leaf there. And this shouldn't have been out in the sun too long. To harden them off, the plan was 20 minutes, half hour, 1 hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. Now there was gaps in between, so I did an hour and then an hour and a half and then 2 hours, but the gap in between those two, so it was a little bit too much. Now most of the plants, as you can see, were fine with that amount of sun. Just some of the smaller ones, some of the ones that were struggling, it has hit them hard. They're bouncing back, but as you can see, it's not good for them. So if you need to, bring them back in, get them back under the lights and let them sort themselves out before you take them back out. Okay, everything's back under the lights. So a bit of a different video today. I just wanted to make sure we change it up a little bit. Everything's looking all right, I think, so we didn't really need to do a progress check. As you can see, everything's quite a forest down there. I mean, it's looking all right. Lights are positioned correctly. So in summary, just remember, I'd say water once a week, but check the top of the soil to make sure it's not too dry. Check the bottom of the soil to make sure it's not too waterlogged. Don't go too strong on the fertilizer to start with. Half the amount, even quarter the amount to start until they're big enough, and then go with the instructions. Make sure they're not outside too quickly. Make sure they're not out in the sun too long. Make sure you don't transplant them too quick. That concludes day 57. I think we're at 70 subscribers. I can't get over it. Thank you all so much. Hopefully this weather gets better soon and get these outside. The garden's pretty much ready. We just need to do a little weed killer spray on the bottom, but that's nothing too crazy. I can just pluck them for now. But I just want to thank you all, everyone that's watched, everyone subscribed, liked, shared, commented. It just means the world to me. We'll grow organic food and we'll have organic minds. That's what matters to me. Everybody else, don't worry about them. Make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you look after me, myself and I, because no one's going to throw you a lifeline if you're drowning. You take care, stay as awesome as you are. We really appreciate your time. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you tomorrow. See you Tuesday for day 58. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.